Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth. He commanded armies. He ruled an empire. He had everything modern people chase their entire lives. Yet every morning he warned himself of one thing: do not become poor, not poor in money, but poor in character, poor in discipline, poor in control. Because Marcus Aurelius understood something we've forgotten. You can lose money overnight. You can gain it back in years. But when you lose yourself, no amount of wealth can save you. The world today teaches you how to make money. Stoicism teaches you how not to be owned by it. Stoics didn't ask, how much can I earn? They asked, how little do I need to live well? Because real wealth isn't what fills your bank account. It's what empties your fear, your greed, your dependence. And once you build that kind of wealth, money becomes a tool, not a master. Section 1. What Stoics mean by wealth. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire stretching across continents. Gold flowed into Rome every day. Power surrounded him. Yet in his private journal meditations he wrote as if he owned nothing. No palace pride, no obsession with possessions. Only one question echoed through his thoughts: what kind of man am I becoming? That question defines how Stoics understand wealth. To Stoics, wealth is not how much you earn, not how much you show, and not how much you accumulate. Because history proves something brutal: fortunes rise and fall. Empires collapse. Currencies die. In fact, more than 80% of family fortunes are lost by the third generation. Money alone is fragile. Stoic wealth is different. Wealth is how little you need to live well. Let that land. Breathe in. Say it with me. Less need, more freedom. The modern world asks you, how can I get more? More income, more status, more upgrades. Stoicism asks a sharper question: what can I remove? Remove excess desire. Remove unnecessary fear. Remove dependence on things you don't control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking. That sentence alone destroys the modern idea of success. Think about this: two people earn the same income. One feels rich. The other feels constantly behind. The difference is not money, it's expectations. Neuroscience confirms this: happiness adapts to income within 6 to 12 months, but desire keeps expanding unless trained. Stoics train desire. Reset for a moment. Ask yourself quietly, what do I think I need that I actually don't? Here is the Stoic paradox: the person who needs the least is the hardest to control. Employers can't exploit them easily. Markets can't scare them easily. Crises don't break them. That is real wealth. Practical exercise for today. Write down 3 things you believe you must have to be okay. Then ask honestly, would Marcus Aurelius need this to live with dignity? This mindset doesn't make you passive. It makes you dangerous because you act without desperation. And in the next section, you'll discover how Marcus Aurelius turned this philosophy into a quiet system, a wealth pyramid that starts not with money, but with mastery of the mind. Stay with me. Section 2, the Stoic Wealth Pyramid. Marcus Aurelius never described wealth as something to chase. He described it as something that emerges when life is built correctly. While most people obsess over income titles and numbers, Marcus quietly followed a structure that almost no one noticed: a pyramid where money sat at the very top, not at the base. This single inversion explains why so many people earn more, but feel poorer, while Stoics often earn less at first, but end up freer, calmer, and eventually wealthier. Most people build their financial lives upside down. They start with money hoping discipline will follow. They chase income first, then promise themselves they will develop control, patience, and wisdom later. But later never comes. Marcus Aurelius understood that if the foundation of a life is unstable, no amount of money can stabilize it. That is why the Stoic wealth pyramid begins with something radical in today's culture: self-mastery before money. Marcus wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This was not meant as comfort, it was meant as a warning. Because every financial collapse, every bad investment, every moment of regret begins with the same failure: loss of self-control. Panic replaces judgment. Desire replaces reason. Fear replaces patience. Modern behavioral finance confirms what Stoics observed 2,000 years ago. More than 70% of poor financial decisions are driven by emotion, not lack of information. People know what they should do. They simply cannot do it under pressure. Marcus trained for this pressure daily. His journal was not poetry, it was mental armor. He reminded himself again and again not to be pulled by anger, greed, or impulse, because a man ruled by emotion will always be ruled by money. Pause with me for a moment. Take a breath. Say it slowly, I control my response. When you control your response, money becomes a tool. When you don't, money becomes a master. This is why Stoics focus first on governing the inner world before attempting to influence the outer one. Self-mastery seals the emotional leaks through which wealth quietly escapes. As the pyramid rises, we reach the second level, the most misunderstood and most powerful Stoic principle: low desires create high freedom. Marcus Aurelius lived simply not because he lacked access to luxury, but because he understood its hidden cost. He slept simply, ate simply, and dressed simply by choice. He wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less or do what is essential." This was not minimalism as an aesthetic. It was minimalism as strategy. Here is the equation Stoics discovered long before spreadsheets existed. Freedom equals income minus desire. Most people attempt to increase income endlessly while allowing desires to expand without limit. Stoics cap desire instead. Modern research supports this approach. Studies consistently show that after basic needs are met, additional income produces diminishing returns on happiness, while expanding desires create ongoing anxiety and dissatisfaction. Reset again. Say it with me. Less craving, more freedom. When desires are low, something powerful happens. Expenses shrink. Risk becomes manageable. Fear loses its grip. Savings accumulate faster. Investments compound longer. A person who needs very little is extremely hard to control. They can walk away from bad deals. They can say no without panic. They can endure volatility without collapsing. Marcus practiced what Stoics called voluntary discomfort. He would occasionally eat plain food, wear simple clothing, and live without luxury, not to punish himself, but to prove something important: that comfort was optional. This practice built confidence no market crash could take away. A person who knows they can endure less is never desperate for more. Pause here. Let that sink in. Say it quietly, I am not dependent on comfort. This brings us to the third level of the Stoic wealth pyramid: reputation over riches. At the top of the structure sits something modern finance rarely teaches: character. Marcus Aurelius invested deeply in trust, honor, and long-term respect. He understood that money flows toward value and value flows from character. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That sentence is not abstract philosophy. It is an economic strategy. Reputation opens doors that money alone cannot. It attracts allies, builds networks, and creates opportunities before they appear publicly. Even in the modern world, over 80% of high-quality opportunities move through trust-based relationships rather than open competition. Reputation survives market crashes. Reputation compounds silently. Reputation reduces friction in every transaction. People are more willing to collaborate, invest, and commit when trust exists. This is why Stoics focused on who they were becoming, not just what they were acquiring. Character scales. Wealth follows. Reset again. Take a breath. Say it slowly. Character compounds. Now step back and look at the pyramid as a whole. At the base, self-mastery eliminates emotional mistakes. In the middle, low desires accelerate freedom and compounding. At the top, reputation multiplies opportunity. When these three layers are aligned, something remarkable happens. Money stops being the goal. It becomes the byproduct. This is why Stoics often appear to suddenly succeed later in life. But nothing was sudden. The roots were growing underground for years. While others chased fast wins, Stoics built unshakable foundations. While others reacted to noise, Stoics acted with clarity. While others burned out, Stoics endured. Marcus Aurelius never tried to look rich. He tried to be unbreakable. And unbreakable people tend to do very well in a world addicted to instability. Final reset for this section. Say it with me: foundation before fortune. If you understand this pyramid, you understand why Stoics often become wealthy without chasing wealth at all. And in the next section, we'll go even deeper. You'll see why calm patience and emotional discipline consistently outperform hustle speed and chaos, especially when the world becomes uncertain. Stay with me. Section 3. Why Stoics often become wealthy. Marcus Aurelius never chased money, and that is precisely why it often followed him. This is one of the great paradoxes of Stoicism. While others run toward wealth with desperation, Stoics move slowly, deliberately, and with control. And over time, that calm becomes an advantage most people never notice until it's too late. Marcus Aurelius lived through wars, plagues, political betrayal, and economic uncertainty. Yet in his writings, he rarely sounds rushed, anxious, or afraid. Instead, he sounds grounded, centered, dangerous in his calm. He wrote, "Today I escaped anxiety," or "No, I discarded it because it was within me." That sentence alone explains why Stoics often outperform others in life and wealth. Because anxiety is expensive. Fear is expensive. Panic costs money. When markets crash, most people react emotionally. They sell when prices fall, lock in losses, and re-enter when prices rise again, buying high and selling low. Multiple long-term studies show that emotionally driven investors underperform calm, disciplined investors by 3 to 5% per year. That may not sound dramatic at first, but over 20 or 30 years, that gap becomes the difference between struggle and freedom. Stoics win not by brilliance, but by consistency, and consistency compounds. Pause with me for a moment. Take a breath. Say it quietly, calm compounds. Stoics do not avoid action, they avoid emotional action. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly not to be pulled by impulses, writing, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That mindset turns chaos into opportunity. While others panic, Stoics observe. While others react, Stoics wait. And when they act, they do so with clarity. This is why Stoics often make better long-term decisions. They don't need immediate validation. They don't chase short-term wins. They are willing to look foolish today to be free tomorrow. Hustle culture glorifies speed, noise, and exhaustion. Stoicism glorifies endurance, and endurance always outlasts intensity. Another reason Stoics often become wealthy is that they avoid one of the most dangerous traps of modern life: status spending. Most people don't spend money to meet needs, they spend money to signal identity. Cars, clothes, gadgets, experiences, all purchased not for utility, but for approval. Stoics saw through this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius warned himself, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others." That includes spending your wealth trying to impress them. Here is a harsh truth supported by data: lifestyle inflation destroys wealth faster than bad investments. As income rises, expenses rise to match it, leaving people earning more, but feeling just as trapped. Stoics refuse this game. They separate self-worth from consumption. That single decision frees enormous amounts of capital, financial, mental, and emotional, which can then be invested instead of displayed. Reset again. Breathe in. Say it with me: I do not buy approval. Stoics also think in longer time horizons than most people. While others ask what pays off this month, Stoics ask what holds value in 10 years. Skills, reputation, health, relationships, emotional regulation. These assets compound silently, often invisibly, until one day they appear as luck. But it was never luck, it was patience. Marcus Aurelius invested deeply in character because he knew character scales. A person known for reliability, fairness, and discipline attracts opportunities automatically. Employers trust them. Partners seek them out. Allies support them. Even in modern economics, trust reduces transaction costs, speeds decision-making, and multiplies opportunity. This is why so many high-level opportunities never reach the public market. They move quietly through trusted networks. Stoics are built for this world. Another overlooked reason Stoics often build wealth is that they are resilient under pressure. Volatility breaks most people psychologically before it breaks them financially. Stoics train for adversity in advance. Marcus practiced what Stoics called premeditatio malorum, imagining loss, difficulty, and hardship ahead of time. Not to become pessimistic, but to become prepared. When hardship arrives, it feels familiar instead of catastrophic. Think about that. While others are shocked by setbacks, Stoics say, "I expected this." That expectation removes panic, and panic is the enemy of good decisions. This is why Stoics are often still standing after crises that wipe others out. They are not fearless, they are prepared. Pause here. Let this sink in. Preparation beats prediction. Over time, these traits stack. Calm decision-making, low ego spending, long-term thinking, emotional resilience, trust-based relationships. None of these look like wealth strategies on social media. They don't go viral. They don't feel exciting. But together they create something far more powerful than hype inevitability. This is why Stoics often appear to suddenly succeed later in life. But nothing was sudden. The roots were growing underground the entire time. Marcus Aurelius never tried to look rich. He tried to be unshakable. And unshakable people tend to do very well in a world addicted to instability. Here is the final reset of this section. Say it slowly, I choose long-term strength over short-term excitement. If you understand this, you understand why Stoics don't chase money and why money often ends up chasing them. But philosophy alone is not enough. In the next section, we will bring this down to the ground. Daily habits, weekly practices, long-term systems you can apply starting today. Not theory action, because Stoicism is not meant to be admired, it is meant to be lived. Stay with me. Section 4. Practical Stoic Wealth Habits. Marcus Aurelius understood something most people never practice. Philosophy only matters when it becomes behavior. Stoicism was never meant to be admired from a distance. It was meant to be lived daily, quietly, consistently. Real wealth, the kind Stoics built, is not created in dramatic moments, but through small habits repeated long enough to reshape the mind. This final section brings everything down to ground level. Not ideas, actions, not inspiration systems. We begin with the Stoic daily habit that anchors everything else. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius asked himself a simple but uncomfortable question: what is enough today? Not what do I want, not what can I get, but what is enough? This question immediately cuts through greed, comparison, and anxiety. Modern psychology confirms that clarity around enough dramatically reduces stress and impulsive behavior. Without a definition of enough, desire expands endlessly, and wealth is never felt. With it, calm appears instantly. Pause with me. Take a breath. Say it slowly enough is power. Stoics didn't track money obsessively, they tracked desire. Marcus wrote, "He who does not consider what he has enough is miserable, even if he is the master of the world." Each day, notice moments when desire spikes the urge to buy, upgrade, impress, escape discomfort. Awareness alone weakens its grip. This is the first daily habit: observe desire without obeying it. The second daily habit is negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. Marcus practiced imagining loss of comfort, status, possessions, not to become pessimistic, but to become resilient. When you rehearse loss mentally, fear loses its shock. Studies show that people who mentally rehearse adversity respond more calmly and make better decisions under pressure. This habit trains gratitude and emotional stability simultaneously. You stop clinging to what can disappear. Reset again. Say it quietly, I can endure more than I fear. Next come the weekly Stoic habits, the practices that harden independence. Once per week, Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort. Marcus would remind himself to eat simple food, sleep without luxury, and live as if fortune could be taken away at any moment. This was not punishment. It was training. Voluntary discomfort reduces dependency on comfort, and dependency is expensive. The more you need convenience, the more power external systems have over you. Choose one day per week to intentionally remove a comfort. Walk instead of drive. Eat simply. Reduce entertainment. Sit with silence. Notice what happens. Anxiety rises, then falls. Confidence grows. You realize you are far less fragile than you thought. This realization is wealth. Another weekly habit is the Stoic financial review. Not a budget, but a reflection. Ask yourself which expenses increased my freedom this week and which reduced it. Stoics didn't measure success by pleasure, but by autonomy. If an expense locks you into higher obligations, it costs more than money. It costs freedom. Now we move to long-term Stoic habits, the slow compounding forces behind real wealth. Stoics invested in skills over status. Marcus Aurelius invested in wisdom, judgment, and leadership because these assets cannot be taken by markets or governments. Skills compound. Status expires. A person with valuable skills can lose money and rebuild. A person with only image collapses when conditions change. Pause here. Say it with me, skills survive volatility. Stoics also invested relentlessly in character. This may sound abstract, but it is deeply practical. Character builds trust. Trust builds opportunity. Opportunity builds wealth. In modern terms, reputation reduces friction. People prefer to work with those who are reliable, calm, and fair. Marcus wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That rule creates long-term leverage no strategy can replace. Another long-term habit is patience. Stoics understood time better than most. They played long games. While others chased quick wins, Stoics built foundations. Patience allows compounding not just financial but personal. Calm effort sustained over years outperforms bursts of intensity followed by burnout. Hustle culture exhausts. Stoicism endures. Reset again. Breathe in. Say it slowly, I play long-term games. Here is a final Stoic practice that ties everything together, evening reflection. Marcus ended his days reviewing his actions, not with guilt, but with honesty. What did I do well? Where did I react emotionally? Where did desire control me? This feedback loop turns life itself into training. Without reflection, habits stagnate. With it, progress accelerates. Over time, these habits do something profound. They shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone chasing wealth and start seeing yourself as someone building stability, autonomy, and strength. And here is the paradox: when you stop chasing money, you become far better at handling it. This is how Stoics build real wealth. Not just money, but freedom. Not just income, but control. Not just success, but peace. Final reset. Say it with me. Nothing owns me. Marcus Aurelius died without clinging to possessions, status, or fear. Not because he had nothing, but because nothing had him. That is the highest form of wealth. If this philosophy changed how you see money, life, or success, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so the algorithm spreads real wealth instead of fake promises. Subscribe to Stoic Wealth for timeless Stoic wisdom applied to modern life. And share this with someone who's chasing money, but slowly losing themselves in the process. Because the richest life is not the one that has the most, it's the one you fully control. Before you go, comment just one word below enough, because the moment you define enough, you take back control.